Monster Hunter World has a lot of weapons, all of which provide different playstyles, which makes them so unique from one another. You can choose to turn off your brain and just go full unga bunga. You can choose to ignore literally 90% of the boss's attacks, or you can play the ranged weapons, like a pussy. Basically what I'm trying to say is you will find a weapon that will fit your playstyle. And there is no weapon that is objectively better than the rest. Every weapon is fun in its own way. But if there was one weapon that stands above them all, it would have to be the Charge Blade. The weapon with the steepest learning curve, but also the most satisfying payoff. Charge Blade is one of those very few weapons in the game that can alternate between two different modes. One where you play with a sword and shield, specializing in speed and defense, and the other where you swing a huge heavy axe that can also turn into a pizza cutter. You're mostly gonna be in the sword and shield mode though, and then switch over to deal the big damage when you have the opportunity. Charge Blade is so fun to play with because there is so much packed into it. You've got quick responsive combos for close range, heavy far-reaching attacks to close off the distance, a way to charge up and power up your weapon mid-fight, defensive options like parrying and blocking, and you look damn cool while doing it. The weapon being this good and having so many options naturally makes it harder to learn than some other weapons like the dual blade, for example. It is a hard weapon to understand, but it's not as difficult as some people make it out to be. Sure, if you go from something like the hammer to this, it's gonna feel like going from grade school math to quantum physics. But if you tried a few weapons before, you're gonna figure this one out. Don't get me wrong, Charge Blade is a complex weapon, but it's not rocket science. There is no need to follow spreadsheets or read pages of explanations. Just find some guide or two, repeat the stuff in the training room, and just practice. You won't be good at it right away. Hell, I've played the base game and half of Iceborne with it, and I'm still not that good. But who cares? It's a single player game, it's about having fun, and the Charge Blade absolutely delivers. Once you understand it, this becomes the most fun weapon in the roster. The biggest reason for that being its very engaging gameplay loop. You're constantly keeping track of a few different things throughout your hunt. Phials, which you charge up by attacking or blocking. The shield, which can be powered up for better defense and offense. The sword, which adds phial explosions to the attacks when powered up. And potentially the axe, which becomes a beautiful pizza cutter after powering it up. The gameplay loop essentially consists of you building up your phials, charging them up in sword and shield mode, and then using them to power up different parts of the weapon. With everything you want charged up, you just wait for the perfect opening. That one shot, one moment, to seize everything you've been working towards. The instant the monster is down or dizzy, that's when you unleash the special elemental discharge. And let me tell you something, man, this is the most satisfying special move in the entire game. It uses up all of your stored phials to swing the axe back and then slam it forward, dealing a ton of fucking damage and a lot of the time knocking down the monster. You only need to power up the shield to do this, but I'd suggest to have everything else charged up to get the most amount of damage. All of this is kind of the bread and butter for the Charge Blade. You build phials, you charge them up, you power up different parts of the weapon, and then you unleash your special move. This whole gameplay loop keeps you very engaged. You have to monitor all of these things, and that's just talking about the sword and shield mode. There is of course also the axe mode where you can deal the most amount of damage outside of the elemental discharge. You can choose to use phials for different axe attacks, but if you want to really get the most out of this weapon, you should definitely charge it. Cause once you do, it deals a lot more damage, but that's not the primary reason. No, you should charge it because the axe becomes 10 times more fun to use if you do. Cause that's when it turns into a buzzsaw, a pizza cutter, or whatever the fuck you wanna call it. It basically becomes the coolest thing ever. Every hit has this thick, slow and weighty feel to it, which feels so damn good, especially on larger monsters. You do have to be careful with the axe though, it is so slow, so getting hit is very easy. I usually only whip it out when I know I'm safe, which doesn't always go according to plan, but you know, you have to try. Anyway, after a certain time you will have to recharge the parts again, which creates this constant need for phials, which means you're gonna have to be aggressive, really get in there to charge them up. All of these different things and mechanics make this the most detailed weapon in the game. Now, the amount of things to keep track of may overwhelm you if you're trying it for the first time, but don't worry, yet, cause I'm still not done. because there is a very special thing about the Charge Blade that I don't see that many people talk about, and that's the guard point. See, if you have your shield facing forward, at any point when the monster attacks you, you will parry the attack. So this means that every single combo that ends with the shield facing in front of you will initiate a guard point. Naturally, this means that there are a couple options for this. The easiest being R2 plus triangle, where you pull out the axe. This is by far the quickest way to do it, and it also has the easiest timing to get used to, since it's so forgiving. Just do it a little bit before the attack hits you and you'll be golden. There are other combos, but they're harder to learn. For example, there is one where you finish your combo with a sword swing, which moves the shield forward. The timing here is very different though, and since the shield comes out so late in the combo, you'll probably be getting this by accident most of the time. When you initiate a guard point, it also deals damage to the monster, which means that it is possible to stun the monster by doing this. And this is very good because you can unleash the special elemental discharge right after a guard point without any delay. The Charge Blade will have you acting like a crackhead, chasing the high of executing the perfect combo over and over again. If you want to master guard point, you will of course have to learn the monster's moveset. Some are harder to parry than others. Monsters like Diablos have slow, predictable attacks that are quite easy to parry, while others like this dog on ketamine will unleash 50 consecutive strikes, giving you no time to think. But even hard bosses like this can be parried as long as you memorize the moves, which you kind of do anyway since you're grinding the same monster over and over a lot of the times. I really do recommend you to try to get good at guard points and utilize it on your hunts. It makes fights much more engaging and cool. The feeling of parrying the attacks instead of dodging them, invalidating almost all projectiles, and stunning the monster to deliver a big ass axe swing is unmatched in this game. There is really only one thing I dislike with this weapon, and that's the clutch claw attack. The animation is pretty ass and it takes ages to finish, but that's more of an Iceborne thing than a Charge Blade issue. Other than that, this weapon is close to perfect. And I'm saying this as somebody who has tried a lot of the weapons. I love playing with longsword, the hammer, and the insect glaive, but none of them hit the same way the Charge Blade does. It's my favorite weapon, and even when I switch up from time to time, I always come back to it. I strongly recommend you try it out if you haven't and become one of us. Trust me, you won't regret it. Anyway, with that said, peace out.